There is a bit of a pipeline to reading light novels and web novels. If you're like me, you probably watched an anime that had about one season out at the time, but you really liked the story. For me, this was Overlord. The first episode of the anime aired back in September of 2015. The first chapter of the manga was November of 2014. And if I want to get the true story, the light novel's first chapter came out in 2012. That is a 3-year difference between the first airing of the anime and the first volume of the light novel. So if I truly like something's story, and I'm not just there because I like the animation or something, and I just kind of want to know how this all goes, I'm going to go read the light novel. That's kind of how I look at it. You may look at it different, but this pipeline truly does exist. Some people stop at the manga. They want to see visuals still, but still care about the story, and that's completely fine. But something about light novels that I just absolutely love is you're coming in usually with a couple year buffer in story between the anime and where the actual light novel's at. Because with Overlord, that's 3 years. That is not that drastic. But let's look at something a little more big of a gap. Mushoku Tensei is another anime I've seen and another light novel I've read. I finished reading the light novel in about 2015, I think, for Mushoku Tensei, maybe 2016. It was one of the first light novels I finished to completion where the story had an end. And it's been about 4, maybe a little longer than that, 4 years since I finished that light novel. The first episode of the anime aired in January of 2021. That's 2 years ago now. They're about to get their second season. The manga started in October of 2014. The light novel, January of 2014. The web novel in November of 2012. That is a 9-year difference between the original writing of the story and the airing of the anime. So if you really like the anime, you really want to know how that story is going to end, the full story is available online. You just have to go read it. I'm just another reader, and today we are talking about this iceberg we have in the anime, light novel, manga community, you could say. And before I begin the video, maybe like, comment, or subscribe, but let's begin. So we have established a bit of an iceberg so far in the video. At the top, we have Japanese animation. The story has been quite refined. It is streamlined, maybe 12 to 24 episodes. You know that section pretty well if you're watching this video. Below that, we have manga. The story has begun to be streamlined. It is in a visual format, finally, so you are able to see what these characters look like, and the author's usually making better money at this point. And below that, you have light novels where they may have a few pictures but not a lot, maybe 4 or 5 a volume just to depict main characters. There's an editor, the author is going through a publisher. There's a lot more going on here. Like, it's a full-fledged novel that is going to be edited to appear in a good way. Now, web novel is the lowest one, and oftentimes these can be self-published. They have no editor. Sometimes they may not proofread it as much as you think they should. You might find glaring errors, but it's still an interesting read because the author has a story they want to tell. That's the iceberg we have going so far. But when you are reading these novels, you may find sites like My Anime List. We're all familiar with that site. It's a site to track animes you're watching, yada yada. The one I do for light novels and web novels is called Novel Updates. Now, Novel Updates is an interesting site because it's not just Japanese works that are hosted on the site. This is where you are going to start being exposed to other countries' light novel equivalents that many people would consider target the same group of young adults. Now I'm only going to talk about Korea and China in addition to Japan because those are the novels I've read. With China, they have a huge genre called wuxia that is, and I do mean this, is expansive in their stories. Sometimes the stories can be 2,000 chapters, or they can go all the way up to 5,000 chapters. I'm looking at you, Marshall Godzilla. I will make a video about you. I am not happy with you. And then you've got Korean novels that dominate the charts, like Solo Leveling. I mean, wow, that solo leveling genre, there is a genre that is just solo leveling like novels, has dominated the market, even though the original solo leveling novel has been done for a while now. So this is where you as a weeb, someone that pretty much only took Japanese content, will start exploring the other areas. Or you might be coming at it from a different direction. Some people read Korean webtoons, and they'll read manhwa, the Korean kind of like equivalent to manga, and there's Korean web novels as well. Solo Leveling is a huge novel. I mean, it's hard to understate that statement, and that is just a section they may be coming from. At the end of the day, whether you started from the Chinese side and worked your way over to novel updates, it's like a hub where you can find all these other novels that are separated. They are maybe small translation groups, but if you end up on a site like Novel Updates, I'm using that as an example, but you may have used a different one. It is quite easy to start exploring the many other novels because for the most part you can read them all for free. You might not be supporting the author, but you are reading his work, and you may go on to actually buy the novels. For example, I read Overlord, but I eventually bought the novels. I read it for free originally, but I eventually bought the hardback copies just so I could have something to put on my bookcase. Not everyone does that, but I wanted to support the author that I was benefiting from reading his free works. So you've got these 3 different cultures, and once you start reading these novels, you'll start noticing a pattern in how they write their main characters. For example, if you read a lot of solo leveling-esque stories, the main character may just be not that much of a character, but more of a tool to use the author's power fantasy and just be like, this guy is strong, no one can compete with him, he's cool, he may be an underdog, keep his powers low key at first. Or you may read the Japanese stories where our main character, a lot of light novels, and I do mean a lot of light novels, he'll have like a harem. It's a little annoying. And let's talk about the actual titles of the Japanese light novels. Sometimes they're paragraphs or sentences, like they can get quite long. In Chinese novels, the main character, oh my god, is going to be ruthless. He will pull the grass up from the roots, as they like to say, where entire clans, sects, countries may be destroyed if they've angered our main character. That is not an exaggeration in the scope that our main character is able to affect the world. And once you get down here, you kind of get stuck. I'm going to be honest. You can read a lot of these novels for years. For example, I got stuck in Chinese wuxia for a while. Jin, author of A Will Eternal, Renegade Immortal, Pursue the Truth, I Shall Seal the Heavens. His novels are huge, and they are about 1,600 to 2,000 chapters long, usually, and you can read for a while with just that one author and that one little wuxia genre. I mean, there's other Chinese novels, but you get what I'm saying. There's just so much down here to read. Now, we're at the end of the video now. I want to hear what you guys have to think. How did you end up reading all these novels, on the lower tier of the iceberg. Did you start with Japanese animation like me, or did you get introduced through a newer app like Webtoon, which has huge marketing campaigns on TikTok? Like, how did you end up reading novels like these? Thank you for watching.